Do you, by any chance, know of any places or any people around here that volunteer to help the community at all?
I only had $44 in my pocket and a camera crew hiding in a van. That's not the start of a crime documentary. That's the opening line of Secret Millionaire, a show where multimillionaires pretend to be broke for 7 days just to surprise people with a check at the end. A reality show that took economic inequality and said, what if we made this inspiring? Each episode plays out like a bootleg Hallmark movie meets undercover cop drama, except instead of busting criminals, the rich are out here busting into soup kitchens and acting like they've never heard of minimum wage. What's a food bank? Do they give you sushi too? And yet, in 2011, America loved this. With 12.6 million viewers on premiere night, Secret Millionaire became the feel-good hit nobody asked for, but everyone cried to. Critics called it heartwarming, uplifting, and a rare show that makes you feel something other than shame for watching TV. Because for one beautiful moment, it felt like rich people cared. It looked like reality TV had a soul. It seemed like money could fix everything, as long as you filmed it in slow motion with piano music. But of course, it wasn't that simple, because Secret Millionaire wasn't about fixing poverty. It was about rebranding wealth. It was about the performance of empathy. It was poverty porn in a gift box, and we didn't even know we were unwrapping it. So how did we get here? And how the hell did a show about billionaires in disguise become one of the most watched feel-good series of the decade? Let's rewind. Secret Millionaire was born in the UK in 2006, back when reality TV still pretended it had morals. Premiering on Channel 4, the show introduced a novel concept. What if rich people left their gated communities for a week, wore a hoodie from Walmart, and experienced the real world, like tourists in a war zone? It was charity, but make it content. And people loved it. The British version even won a Rose d'Or for Best Reality Series, which is basically the Nobel Prize for shows that make you cry and feel dirty about it. Naturally, America saw this and said, yeah, but what if we made it dumber? In 2008, Secret Millionaire hit US screens via Fox. The network gave it a modest 6-episode run. Ratings were decent, around 6.7 million viewers, but not enough to keep it alive. Fox quietly pulled the plug like a parent realizing their kid's lemonade stand is bleeding money. Then came ABC, the network of second chances and excessive sentimentality.
Wanda, get back to work. This is thanks again.
In 2011, they relaunched Secret Millionaire with all the feels. And this time, the formula hit hard. 12 million viewers, Sunday prime time, Twitter hashtags, Oprah vibes. America was still licking its wounds from the Great Recession. And what better way to self-soothe than to watch rich people cry on camera while giving away checks? It was perfect escapism, the myth that billionaires do care, that wealth can trickle down, and that maybe, just maybe, the system isn't totally broken. It just needs a camera crew and some redemption music. A BC milked that moment for all it was worth. Season 2 averaged over 10 million viewers, and the press went wild. The LA Times called it a surprise hit. Vulture said Fox was dumb for letting it go. A BC execs were doing victory laps around their Malibu offices. For a hot second, it really looked like Secret Millionaire was going to save TV, and maybe America itself. Spoiler alert, it didn't.
Buddy, so you don't have money to pay for something, people help out and volunteer wherever they can.
Yeah. For a show built on surprise, Secret Millionaire became eerily predictable. Fast. Every episode was the same. Rich guy in flannel, strolls through a poor neighborhood, cries, drops a check, hugs strangers, audience cries harder. Wash, rinse, repeat. By season 3, people weren't just crying, they were cringing. The cracks started small, a few offhand comments, a few too perfect random encounters. And then came the slow realization. Wait a minute, was this entire show just poverty cosplay? Critics were not kind. Entertainment Weekly called it a celebration of the redemptive power of wealth. More oh brother than oh Henry. One commentator described it as slum tourism in high definition. The term poverty porn started trending in reviews like it was a Netflix genre. The formula had gone stale, and worse, it had gone gross. Because here's the thing, if your feel-good show relies on a millionaire pretending to be broke for 5 days to decide if a food bank is worthy of help, maybe the system's broken? Just a thought.
4-day school week. For some kids, having worked inside the system means a day without food. Yeah. So.
Then came the real red flags, like Danny Johnson, one of the featured millionaires, who used her episode to peddle the bootstraps narrative like it was gospel. She talked about the deserving poor, which is a term that should have stayed buried in a Dickens novel. Johnson basically went on national TV to say, you can be poor, but only if you're polite about it. The backlash was swift. Commentators pointed out that defining worthiness of help based on how likable someone is kind of misses the point of systemic poverty. But hey, nothing says nuance like a millionaire handing out checks like Oprah handing out cars. And then there was the format itself, the ultimate game show of charitable judgment. Why did this nonprofit get $40,000 and that one only $20,000?
Perhaps I didn't play as much as I should have or could have, but I can look at these kids and I can enjoy it through them.
Is this philanthropy or the price is right for nonprofits? Every week, the secret millionaire turned into the secret judge of human suffering trademark, deciding arbitrarily who deserved life-changing money based on a single week's worth of immersion. It was less do good and more play God. Worse yet, the show treated deception as a virtue. The millionaire had to be undercover because otherwise, what, people would be too performative in front of a rich person? On a reality show, the irony practically wrote itself. And then came the final nail, the ratings crash. Season 3 was doomed from the jump. A BC decided to air it in the summer, a graveyard slot. The premiere drew only 5.7 million viewers. That's a 56% drop from the previous season. A week later, it sank to 3.8 million, then quietly drowned in a pool of its own sweat and Olympic Games reruns. A BC pulled the plug halfway through. A few final episodes were burned off months later, like leftovers no one wanted to admit they forgot in the back of the fridge.
I can relate to them, to kids leaving home, wanting to leave home because it's how I felt. I wanted to get away from that environment.
The so-called finale in September 2013 tried one last dramatic swing, a record-breaking $1 million donation to an entire town in Oregon, a literal $1 million drop to go out with a bang. And for a brief second, it worked. Clips went viral. Headlines wrote themselves, "Millionaire changes entire town's future." But even that became its own meme. The message wasn't, "This town deserves funding." It was, "Look how generous this millionaire is." The spotlight never stayed on the people receiving help. It always bounced back to the glowing aura of rich benevolence, like an Instagram filter for philanthropy. Behind the scenes, even participants grew skeptical. Reports trickled in that the random interactions were heavily orchestrated, that producers steered millionaires towards certain characters in the community, that some of the gritty living conditions were sanitized for comfort. The camera's version of "Don't show the mold" were still on a BC. It was all too clean, too polished, too perfect to believe.
My goal is to make sure young people become productive citizens, stay out of jail. My goal is that they get a job so that they can take care of themselves.
Even Twitter began to turn. What started as emotional live tweets under hashtag secret millionaire, "I'm crying," gave way to hashtag poverty porn and "Is this satire?" One woman tweeted simply "drained hashtag secret millionaire," which honestly should have been the show's final tagline. The audience was catching on. The formula wasn't just repetitive, it was revealing something uglier. This wasn't about highlighting poverty, this was about repackaging guilt. It became clear that Secret Millionaire wasn't helping America understand economic inequality, it was helping rich people feel better about it. For 1 week, they got to cosplay humility. They got to feel like heroes, and then they went back to their yachts while the rest of us sat at home wondering why food banks need to audition for survival on national television.
This is overwhelming to me. And I'd like to give them today.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah.
In the end, the show became exactly what it claimed to fight against, a performative gesture dressed up as transformation. The ultimate philanthropic plot twist, where the person most changed is the one who didn't need changing at all. By the end of its run, Secret Millionaire had become the TV equivalent of a lukewarm TED Talk in a soup kitchen. Vaguely inspiring, mostly awkward, and entirely unnecessary. The magic was gone. The slow-mo hugs hit different when you realized they were probably scheduled by a segment producer. The tears felt thinner. The checks felt more like plot devices than lifelines. And most importantly, the audience knew the script. Every episode, the same beats. A rich person discovers poverty like it's a hidden Easter egg. They connect with a few hardworking underdogs. They reveal their identity in a dramatic scene that always includes the words, "You've changed my life more than I've changed yours." And then the check drop, boom, done, reset, repeat. It stopped feeling like storytelling and started feeling like propaganda. The worst part? It was selling the fantasy that charity is only real when it's flashy.
So I have a check here for New Hope Grief Support Community.
That kindness only counts if it comes from someone with a net worth over $10 million and a network TV contract. By 2013, even parody accounts on Twitter were calling it out. Tune in to Secret Millionaire tonight. Watch a billionaire cry for 3 minutes and solve systemic poverty with a novelty check. TikTok and YouTube didn't help. Years later, clips from the show resurfaced with sarcastic captions like, when your poverty has to be heartwarming enough to earn rent. One viral video stitched together a montage of millionaires saying the exact same things. This week has changed me forever. I've never met people so real. You inspire me. You could practically turn it into a drinking game. Warning, you will not survive.
I had the pleasure of spending a couple days with the Alonso family and helping them with bringing in a memorial garden for...
And let's be honest, in today's media climate, the idea of disguising yourself as poor to learn empathy feels gross, like cosplaying oppression for the emotional arc. Secret Millionaire wasn't just dated, it was dystopian. In a post-2020 world, where conversations around equity, performative allyship, and systemic change have gone mainstream, this show feels like the corporate version of thoughts and prayers. A lot of sentiment, zero strategy. It wasn't a rescue mission. It was a redemption narrative, but not for the communities, for the rich. Because at the end of the day, Secret Millionaire didn't teach us anything new about poverty, but it did teach millionaires how to feel noble without actually doing the work. At its core, Secret Millionaire was never about the people it claimed to help. It was about the people watching.
Oh!
Got to stand by there, kids.
We got everyone in, yeah? Get everyone?
People who wanted to believe that wealth could be benevolent, that the system just needed a kind billionaire in disguise to fix it all. It sold us the idea that change comes in the form of a dramatic reveal and a six-figure check, not policy, not systemic reform, not boring things like taxes or fair wages. No, just a rich person, a flannel shirt, and a week of pretending. And for a while, we bought it. We cried, we clapped, we tweeted #inspired, we felt good. But now, we know better. We've seen what performative charity looks like. We've seen what happens when reality TV pretends to solve reality. We've seen that you can't film your way out of structural inequality, even if you do it in high definition. Because Secret Millionaire was never built to last. It was a fairy tale in the age of foreclosure, a brief distraction, a capitalist fever dream wrapped in a redemption arc. The real question isn't whether Secret Millionaire can come back. The real question is, why did we ever think it was working? So here's your final twist, your last minute reveal. It wasn't about saving communities. It was about saving face.
Guy, and he's kind of walking through with a walker, and I happened to look down at his shoes, and they were covered with excrement.
You may even have more now.
But hey, if you want to change the world, you don't need to fake being poor or film yourself handing out checks. You just need to like, subscribe, and comment below. Which reality show should be secretly canceled next? Or better yet, which billionaire do you want to see actually pay taxes? Because remember, you can't fix poverty with a check, but you can roast the hell out of bad TV. And that, my friends, is worth more than $1 million.